Well, hey everybody, it's TLP live again on this wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Whoops, I clicked the wrong button there. Hang on a second. Let me. All right, there we go. I need a producer in here, Paul. I can't click all the buttons myself.
Live, baby. It's all live.
It's all live. Well, how are you tonight, Mr. Paul?
I'm doing well, Dan. Thank you very much. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you and your family.
Yes, I sent you an email earlier today that we're actually going to have a Memorial Day off. Not the whole weekend. We worked yesterday most of the day. We're working here this afternoon and tonight, but tomorrow.
We'll get one. But I think it's important to know that, you're right, because usually we're in full swing right now, and we're rehearsing and getting ready and everything, and we usually are working very long days, and so this is definitely a first for us, isn't it?
Typically I'd be looking out of the office across the way. There'd be things going on all over the place. We'd have things getting ready out front. We'd have the lobby busy, the theater busy, building the rehearsal pad. There'd be things going all over, and there's nothing.
Nothing.
It's hard to take, actually.
It is. And I think that's really why so many people have been commenting on what we've been doing in the TLP live show, because at least it's our way of trying to continue to connect with our audiences, and we've been really getting some fantastic feedback. We got some great feedback on last weekend's show with Kate and Baldwin and Matt, and people say more of that. So you and I have been talking about what we can do and what we can bring. We've been hearing from our audiences, which has been great. And I think we got a great show tonight, and I think we got a couple of great shows coming up in the weeks to come.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight's show. You've worked with these guys for a while. I haven't really worked with them at all. I've met Michael a couple of times, but basically this will be a very interesting show for all of us, kind of getting caught up on what a wonderful world has been created, and how TLP, how we got involved with this show. I did want to mention something about Memorial Weekend. This morning on CBS Sunday Morning, there was a segment on taps, and there's a guy from Portland, Oregon, that steps out on his balcony at sunset every night and plays taps. And he is encouraging everybody tomorrow at 3 o'clock to step outside, and all horn players to play taps. He says, don't worry about it. It's only a couple of notes. You should be able to do that. So if you know anyone who plays a horn, or Paul, get out there and play taps on your drum. We could do that. But if you know anyone who plays horn and would like to do that, 3 o'clock tomorrow, the challenge is for everyone to get out on their porch, out in front, and play taps.
Well, I think that's fantastic, Dan. And I think it's important that we celebrate not only our men and women in service, but I think it's also important to recognize our first responders, who have been nothing but fantastic, brave, and they are really the heart and soul of what's going on in our country right now. And we're really very, very appreciative of them. And thank you. Big shout out to all of our first responders in our area, in the Illinois area, Mount Carroll area, and all over the nation. Thank you so much for what you do.
Well, and we also want to mention, and we haven't put a lot out about this yet because we're not just sure how things are going to work, but we are planning on doing a first responders night, and actually we're going to do it. We're going to do it in September with the first weekend of the Buddy Holly story, where we have a tribute night to the first responders in the area. So keep an eye out for that. As soon as we know for sure what we're going to be able to do, we will definitely make plans on that and have our first responder night here at TLP. Our first responders, they're especially the ones in the area. I mean, they, of course, were here back in the 70s when the place caught on fire, and we're out here dealing with that. But all the time we're calling with someone that gets hurt, or someone that hurts themselves in the shop, or we had a patron one night that had an issue with some kind of a reaction to something in the air. So we really appreciate having those folks close by and helping us.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dan. And it's talking about the people around here, and you mentioned the fire. I've just been so overwhelmed with the love and support of our local audiences that have been saying that we're right there with you guys. We're right there with Timberlake. Anything that we can do to help, let us know. And Dan, it's been really tough on the theater, and we are every single day we are working on solutions to be able to bring shows to our audiences, and I think that we have had an amazing board meeting last Thursday, and that we were able to come through with some planning and some ideas and some information. And I think that what we're going to want to do is share that with our audiences, and I think we want to do that next Sunday. We want to spend a little time with that and be able to allow people to tune in live and ask questions, and we're going to be able to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing, and the support of our community has been so overwhelming. Again, for me, it's just another testament of why Timberlake Playhouse is truly a magical place.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we've been promoting and kind of promising that next weekend we'll be doing our educational program rollout. We still hope to do that, but we want to take part of the show next week to be able to answer questions about what we're doing, because the plan for us is that this week we'll be able to give you an update on where we are schedule wise. And I know it's kind of rough because we're trying to keep in mind what's going on and keep people safe and keep actors safe, and so we'll give you as this week goes, we'll roll out some more information, and next Sunday night we'll be able to take questions about that. We've also been working on a lot of other shows. We've got the Mamma Mia reunion show coming up soon. We're working on a reunion show with the company from 1983. And if we have any alumni out there that have a group of you that kind of hang together, or you want to make some phone calls and get back to us and say, hey, the group from 1961 or 62 rather, we'd like to get on the show. So email, give us a call, put it on Facebook. We watch our Facebook pretty closely, and let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. We want it. Again, it was last week's show with the class of '93. We got such great responses for that. People love that, and being able to see people and tell stories and share stories. And again, we want that. We want to be able to. How many decades, Dan? Right? How many decades of stories have people been able to come here, both as patrons and performers and technicians, and how TLP is able to shape their lives in some way, shape, or form? I think that's fantastic. We want to hear from you.
And we've got, of course, our Throwback Thursday. Here's our picture from this week. It's a production of Curtains, and we'll. And you can change it around. It doesn't have to be a thought bubble on these two and a speech bubble on the guy up top. You can change it around as you wish, but let's see some good ideas for comments, and you get to win $10 of TLP bucks, and TLP bucks can be spent on the deck. It can be spent at the gift shop. It can be spent at the bar. It can be spent anywhere. Heck, you can use it for tickets. So.
Unlimited possibilities with the TLP.
Unlimited possibilities, exactly.
That's great. Well, hey, Dan, real quick before we start moving on, do you have any plans for tomorrow, Memorial Day? Are you gonna do some cooking? Are you gonna barbecue? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I am going to barbecue. Absolutely. Again, this is probably the first Memorial Day in 6 years I've been here that I'll be able to do that. I also heard that there's a Magnum PI, is that what it is? Yeah, Magnum PI marathon tomorrow. I might just skip any kind of outdoor work and watch the old Magnum PI marathon. That might be a little bit tomorrow. Plus, we'll get on the phone and make a phone call to all the kids and relatives and check in with everybody and say hello. How about you? Plans for tomorrow?
You know what? I think so. I'm gonna actually try my hand at barbecue and ribs. I'm gonna do it. Jump in because Dan, hopefully this will be the last year that we have Monday.
We can do this. Yeah.
go ahead and enjoy it, and then let's get back next year. Let's hope that we're back at work.
Well, and the thing is, it's not just TLP that's in this position. I mean, this is kind of an industry-wide issue. Paul works with, well, I mean, we're both on calls 2 or 3 times a week through some of the theater organizations. Paul is right now working on a small select group of theaters around the country who are working with equity to try to work out how we're going to get started again and bring our equity actors back into the fold. Paul, you have anything you want to mention about that? I know we can't get too deeply into what's going on, but
yeah, we can't get too deeply into what's going on, but I will say this is that it has been an absolute joy working alongside our brothers and sisters in this community, and we're all in this together. It doesn't matter the size of the theater or where it's located. We're all experiencing this, and what has been absolutely a joy for me is to be able to develop these relationships with artistic leaders all over the country, from New York to California and everywhere in between. And it's really made me realize and appreciate even more how this community really does come together in times of need like this. We share information, we talk about our problems, we talk about each organizational hurdles or obstacles, and we're able to get information back that helps us solve, helps us be able to plan. And I am just so thankful that we have such a wonderful community of artists all across the board that are coming together and working together to be able to try to find solutions so that we can get back to doing what we do best.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Both Paul and I sit on a town hall meeting every Thursday afternoon. I also do a town hall meeting on Friday with a marketing group, but it ends up talking about a lot more than marketing. And we've learned so many things. Like, for example, this software that we're using, or this platform that we're using to do TLP Live, I'd never heard of it until a couple of weeks back. And I heard about it at one of those town hall meetings. And yesterday we heard about a bunch more. We're just trying to find a platform to be able to use as a teaching platform, and we've been able to find some things that way. And the nice thing about it is I don't have to look at 5, and Paul doesn't have to look at 4 or 5 different ones and try them all out. We've got people that have already done that. They say, hey, don't use this one, don't use this one, but this one is the one that works best for you. So
Dan, and a lot of development is at this time too, Dan. Like all of them, whether it be Zoom or StreamYard or even Skype. They're hard at work. Also, their developers are hard at work trying to help kind of add a show business kind of flair to it, because we want to be able to do music and be able to sing and if one person's in their room in California, play the piano, and a person in New York can sing along to it, and the technology is just not there quite yet. But it really is. It's quite fascinating to watch it all unfold, and we are all learning this as we go.
One thing that we are finding, though, that and this is happening all over the country, people are missing their theaters.
Yes, they are.
They're missing that camaraderie and whatnot. I came across a video, Paul, that I want to click on here, because you and I and Bill and Jen, when we have to come out here to do something, we get to kind of walk around and look at the place a little bit. But this is a little video that'll kind of help our viewers to remember a little bit about TV. That's the wrong one.
Your oasis in the woods. Timber Lake Playhouse has everything you need in a vacation. From our varied shows offered each season to the nature trails, adventure and entertainment hide behind every corner in our woodland paradise. Children's shows are offered every season, and with a fully stocked beer garden and nightly deck shows, the adventure is sure to extend to the whole family.
I love seeing that. The people walking up with their tickets, the view over the deck with the lake in the background, kids out there having fun, audience members enjoying the theater. This morning, a friend of mine also shared a video from one of our concerts. I think it was from the Dolly and Friends, or maybe the Reba and Friends. And I mean, every chance I've had today, I've clicked on that to watch this video. It's just a big part of all of our lives. It's not here right now.
I know. And you know what? We should mention that those videos that we've got were shot by DePaul students that came out to the theater and kind of fell in love with the place and asked if they can shoot. And they donated those videos and their time to us, and we were really appreciative of them, and we wish them all the best. I'm sure that they're doing their thing, COVIDing, but it was really nice to see that video.
Yeah, this was this class was a commercial video class, and we were asked if we wanted to be a part of that class. And Joanne Zelensky, who is the dean of the video college there, or was the dean of the video college, and also lives out of Lake Somerset, asked us that and then connected us with them. And I walked in the class and they interviewed me like I was, a client, and they put together, well, we probably have 3 hours of video and 3 or 4 different commercials like that. The one that sits on our front on our webpage right now, that's all shot by them and put together by them. But very thankful for what they had. But isn't it nice to be able to look at the theater with people here, even though we really don't have people here yet?
Well, yeah, it is. It's magical. And that's the thing though, Dan. I think that what's important is that what I love about what we're doing right now is that while a lot of our colleagues, have decided maybe to postpone their seasons or to push them back, we here at Timberlake we are very, very diligent in trying to make sure that we give a season, give something. And I think that our audiences are going to really want to hear what we're going to want to say to them in that next Sunday and how we kind of roll this out. So if you are tuning in this Sunday right now, I can't encourage you enough to tune in next Sunday, where we're going to be able to tell you a little bit more detail about how that's going to happen, what shows, and all that good stuff, and take your questions and be able to answer them as best we can at the time. But thank you so much for tuning in. And hey, man, I want to talk about What a Wonderful World, Dan. I'm a little excited.
No, let's get to it.
All right. So, if I may, I want to talk a little bit about the show itself because, there's a lot of backstory about how. But one of the most important things is that we are, as Timberlake Playhouse, the very first time we are going to produce a world premiere musical. Never before seen, never before produced on stage. Timberlake Playhouse is going to be the very first time you're able to see this show on a stage. And we are so excited. That's why today we are going to dedicate this entire show to What a Wonderful World. And I can't think of a better way than to start it off by the how. First of all, What a Wonderful World is a jukebox musical. It's written by Jeremy Desmond and orchestrated and musical arrangement by Jesse Vargas, who we happen to have both of them with us tonight, and we'll be interviewing them just a little bit later. But this whole thing started where I was approached by a wonderful, wonderful person named Elise Coogan, who works at BMG, that is a music publishing company in New York. And she said to me, Paul, I have got to introduce you to Michael Barra. Michael Barra is the president of Lively McCabe Entertainment, and I think that you two should collaborate on a show together. Well, next thing you know, I was talking to Michael. He had told me about this show, how it is the story about how Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus meet and fall in love in the 1950s. And I was in. I was like, I gotta talk. I want to know more about this show. And the best thing about it is that it really was just an idea at the time. It wasn't even really written. It wasn't fully realized yet. And so I got an opportunity to work with Jeremy and Jesse, and together we've been collaborating since last summer to be able to bring this show to the TLP stages. And it really all started with a meeting that Dan and I had with Michael Barra, the president of Lively McCabe. Dan, why don't you jump in and tell us a little bit about your interview with Michael Barra?
Well, it was interesting. We wanted to get Michael on the show tonight with us so we could talk with him and have him here with Jesse and Jeremy. But he was going up to his in-laws or his parents up in north part of New Jersey and didn't have internet. but I was able to do an interview with him, so I'm going to try to play that interview right now. So give me a second to figure all this stuff out.
All right. While you're doing that, I just want to say to the folks at home that again, we're very thankful for all of you. And if you're tuning in right now, you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask a question. Do you get it?
You live. Well, I got it, but yeah, okay.
Right, man. We're gonna get it, but you know what? We're here right now. If you have any questions or anything like that you want to answer, if you want to ask a question, we'll go ahead and take it. Oh, but I think we're getting closer.
We're getting closer.
We're getting close.
What's all this? There we are.
All right.
All right. We are
You.
glad to have Mike.
And was there for 6 years, working both on the film and the theater side. So I got to, work on some really cool projects like Newsies and Aladdin and some of the early stuff that Disney Theatrical has been creating during my time there. And then after Disney, I went to work at a company called the Rocket Group. They're Broadway producers of best known for Wicked and a bunch of other shows. And my job there was very similar to what I do now, which is to develop new plays and musicals for stages beyond just New York. So really looking at what is traditionally known as like the stock and amateur market, all the professional theaters such as yourself around the country and around the world that that aren't the 40 theaters in a certain radius in New York City that makes up Broadway or similar in the West End. Everything outside of that market is kind of our core focus.
So how was working for the Mouse?
I loved it. It was, I feel like I went to college, I went to grad school, and then I went to Disney, and that was my real college and grad school. Like, that's where I learned, how the cheese is made.
Yeah, exactly. So then you started Live in the Cave. Where did the idea for that come from?
Truly, just an extension of what I was doing at Disney, which is scouting. Back then it was the company, and now it's kind of all of entertainment for intellectual property that resonates for the live stage. Whether it's hit music out of a music publishing catalog, or whether it's a movie or a TV show or something that already resonates with an audience. And then we adapt it for the stage in a way that makes it truly accessible for audiences around the country. I think a New York audience is very different. There are certain rules that most communities don't, and standards and demand and values and things that are a little bit different than Broadway. So we try to make sure that we're creating family friendly, really kind of most cases upbeat stage adaptations that are contain something that you already love about them. So you're more inclined to want to see it, but you're also more inclined to want to produce it.
Very good. So what kinds of things that we might know do you have going on right now?
Well, right now, almost nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's in the can that's waiting for us to open up?
Our company is best known for our adaptation of the movie Clue. Clue is a project we do with both Hasbro, who owns the board game, and Paramount, who controls the 1985 movie, which has got a huge cult following. So
yeah,
one of those opportunities where we're like, okay, well, theater really likes doing, it likes doing farce, it likes doing murder mystery, these type of like caper type of plays. And here we have a movie with iconic performances and all this incredible dialogue that people have memorized and dress up in the costumes and go to midnight screenings of.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of kind of something that we acquired stage rights to. We did a world premiere earlier this year, and we're supposed to premiere at the Paper Mill Playhouse later this year, and then we'll see if those dates stick.
Well, that's very well known, and I think they kind of call it the pre-Broadway house. So
that's what they say.
Yeah.
That's where we took Newsies first before Broadway when I was at Disney, and it's got good mojo there, and they're a great team, and we're excited.
So how did you come up with the idea for What a Wonderful World, the show that we're going to be world premiering this year?
Yeah, it's an incredible show. I wish I could say I came up with it, but I had, my biggest role was being friends and colleagues with Jeremy Desmond, who is the writer of What a Wonderful World, and he and I have worked together on a couple other musicals as well. And this was a pitch. This was a pitch that he had for us that I thought was so smart and so funny and not like anything I'd seen before. So we jumped at it, and we we put a team together. We got distribution in place, and then we got connected to you, and that was then we were up and running.
Yeah, Jeremy will be with us in a little bit. I look forward to chatting with him.
He's the best. He's the best at what he does. So you guys are in for a real treat.
So how did the connection with Timberlake Playhouse happen?
It's funny. I recall us being connected both directly to you through the company that commissioned this musical from us, TRW, which is one of the licensing agencies out there. And simultaneously, Paul, our director, who's your artistic director, was connected to our partners at BMG, who's the music publisher that's giving us all this incredible music for this project. So it was very serendipitous when we were having those conversations at the same time. Like, I think Timberlake might be a good fit for this.
Well, I remember that day. I was out. We had a meeting with you in the afternoon, and in the morning I stopped at TRW and talked with Steve, the owner, and he started talking about this project that he thought we might be good for, because he and I have been talking for 7 years.
Oh wow!
Of working on a project. Back when they first started, we've been talking about trying to come up with a project we can work on. But he was very, very quiet about what that project was. And the more he talked about it, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this sounds like what Paul told me we're going to go talk about this afternoon. So yeah, it was kind of this triangle that just was a perfect storm fit.
What a wonderful world, isn't it?
What a wonderful world. And everything was going so well. And then March 13th happened, and we stopped doing anything, moving around. We're as you know, Michael, we're very committed to doing this show, and it keeps now moving in our schedule. But God willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be getting Wonderful World going out here sometime in 2020.
And the great thing is like it will happen when it's supposed to happen. When it's safe to happen, when people can come and enjoy it, and we'll be ready for it when that time comes. Yeah.
Well, it was great for you to take a few minutes to spend with us tonight. Sure appreciate getting to talk with you, and gosh, we hope this project goes well, and you'll be out here at TLP, and you'll see what a wonderful, wonderful place, not just a wonderful world, but a wonderful place TLP is.
I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you for having me, and thanks for partnering with us on the show, and I'm looking forward to being out there in person.
Well, thank you very much, and you take care and stay safe.
You as well. Thanks so much.
Michael Barra from Lively McCabe. Well, there we are. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
How about that?
Everything working. I got to write notes and plaster them all over my wall here, so I don't.
Look, if anybody thinks this is live, this is happening live.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we love Michael. We're very, very thankful that he was able to kind of connect it. And like he said, originally it was myself and Elise, who works at BMG, that met. And Elise is wonderful. She's such a wonderful person. And I'm so thankful to her for connecting us with Michael, and so thankful for Michael for connecting us with our next guests that we have coming up.
Why don't you introduce Jeremy for us?
Absolutely. So, as the trail of What a Wonderful World behind the scenes came together, after we met with Michael, he introduced me to Jeremy Desmond, and Jeremy and I both we both reside in New York City. So I said, what better way? Let's get together and have a coffee, and let's talk a little bit about whether or not we're a good fit for a team, and if this is something, because when you develop a musical, Dan, I think it's important to know that it takes a small army to not only put one up, but to develop one. It takes a lot of time, and you really want to make sure that your collaborators that you want to spend some time in, you got to realize that you're going to spend anywhere between 1 to 7 years with writing and rewriting, going back and forth. So you want to make sure that when you commit to a project and to a writing team, it's a team that you really believe in, and a team that you feel like you can go through thick and thin together. And the very first time I had met with Jeremy, I walked away from that meeting going, man, this is a brother. This is a guy that I want to work with. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in Jeremy Desmond. Hey, Jeremy.
Hello. That was such a lovely intro. I so appreciate that.
Well,
How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. I'm here. I live in New York, but I'm currently in Buffalo, New York, which is about a 6-7 hour drive away. Riding out the storm with my family and my wife. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that everybody is really, we've kind of set it up, but where did the idea for What a Wonderful World come from?
I mean, it's a great question. I mean, the idea was, let's try to write something heartwarming in Christmas. And this sort of idea of what was the story of Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus meeting. And we were talking about the song, What a Wonderful World. And it just all kind of came together that we decided to set it in the 50s. It made a lot of sense to set it in the 50s. And what's really fun is the question sort of became, okay, how did they meet? What was it about them? And so we wanted to meet them. I sort of thought it'd be a lot of fun to meet them when they were young. This was a conversation I was having with Michael, Barra, and Elise, and it sort of went from there, and sort of became the story of what happens when there's a changing of the guard at the North Pole. It's sort of, we played with the lore of Christmas, and again, it's a Christmas musical, but it's not, in the sense that it's got this just warmth, and it's a romantic comedy about these people who come together under these strange circumstances, which is Santa Claus is retiring, and there's a magical process to replace him. Because I don't know about this about the lore, the magical lore that we may have made up, is that every few generations there's a new Santa Claus. I mean, Santa can't do the same thing forever. He's got, I mean, how many of the same toys can you make, right? So, and so after a while, what happened was he was he was giving out hula hoops to everybody because it was the 50s, and he just kept he just couldn't, he lost his mojo. What happens when Santa loses his mojo? Well, it's time to move on. And so this is the story of the young guard kind of coming up in the swinging late 50s, early 60s kind of vibe. And so another thing which was really fun was I know Jesse Vargas is here. That was something about the idea that we really got excited about, was we decided it should be a jukebox musical, which was bringing in pre-written songs. But wouldn't it be fun if we took songs that were created in the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years and sort of rearrange them, reimagine them to sort of feel like they really came from that era? So that's sort of the sound of the show.
Speaking of Jesse, let's bring him out.
Yeah, let's bring him out. Ladies and gentlemen, Vargas. How you doing, Jesse? Jesse is our music arranger and orchestrator. I think you're on mute, buddy.
I am on mute. Hi.
Live.
I think the tagline of this entire thing is going to be called, I think you're on mute. I think for this entire time in our history.
Every Zoom
We're
meeting.
making shirts.
Jesse, why don't you talk a little bit about your role and a little bit about your background and kind of how you approach the music to a show like What a Wonderful World?
Yeah, sure. I started doing musicals when I was in high school, and decided that I was going to rearrange and reorchestrate every show that my high school did. I kind of taught myself how to do it accidentally, and wound up not going to music school for various reasons. Sometimes I wish I did, but also it's all good. and started doing musicals in New York, mostly new musicals, which is different than what you do in high school or community theater because they all exist already. You start to learn about what a score is before it gets arranged and before it gets orchestrated, and collaborating with the writers and the whole team to make a real musical. Working on a jukebox musical is a whole other type of thing because you have these songs and they already have a sound and people know what they sound like and they associate them with the artist that released them. Part of the great thing about working with Jeremy is Jeremy paints such a beautiful theatrical picture for every song. He picks these songs very specifically. He weaves things about the lyrics that already exist in these pop songs into the book and says exactly what he sees in his mind, even if it's going to evolve into something else. So it's really fun to get the script from Jeremy because I already understand where to take these songs theatrically. And with this show specifically, because everything, it kind of exists in this 50s, 60s world, which is kind of that golden age Andy Williams Christmas sound. It's super fun because it's big band, it's old school golden age Broadway. And it's about really, it's two things. Obviously there's the sound of the period. And it's just also about what the characters are doing in those moments, which is so important. And I find myself often telling actors who are singing these for the first time, like, to really loosen up the phrasing and sing the lyrics rather than the rhythms, which is the opposite of a pop show where it's actually, you want the rhythms to happen. I've worked on a lot of jukebox musicals in the past 4 years after working on a lot of original musicals. And they're both fun. I mean, obviously working with original music is great because you can keep changing it and rewriting lyrics or rewriting the songs. And with jukebox musicals, the song is what it is. And it falls upon me to figure it all out. But Jeremy is just such a dream to work with because he's so vivid in the pictures that he paints. And we worked on another show before this called One Hit Wonder, which was such a blast, and even more of a blast than I thought it would be from the beginning. And I'm finding the same thing, like, you know, you go into a project and you see what it is and you're like, okay, but then you start to get into it and put your creativity in it and you're like, wow, this is actually more exciting than I thought it would be, which is awesome. And I think Jeremy's a huge part of that.
Mention that, you know, from working with you and when our audience is here, because I'm sure that, you know, what's great about What a Wonderful World is that we do have songs that pretty much can, you know, every generation can identify, whether we're doing Still the One by the Orleans, which came out in the 80s, or American authors with, you know, Best Day of My Life, which came out like 5 years ago. And I think one of the things our audiences are going to want to know is, how do you come up with the songs? Because I don't think that it's not like you're just given a list of, here's the songs, you got to choose them, but you literally have to go and listen to hundreds of songs to try to find those that fit. Talk about that process.
Well, because this is different than, you know, say, hey, here's the catalog of the songs by the Temptations or by ABBA. That's a different kind of challenge. And in those cases, those writers were given 15, 20, 30 songs or more, and they wrote what they created. This was, well, you can use any song in the canon of musical theater. I'm sorry, in the canon of pop theater, pop songs, and take them to the theater. And you can find anything as long as we can get the rights to it. So it's an interesting process. So I start by creating sort of the basic characters and the rough outline of the show, and I'd love every beat to be. And what I just can imagine, I'm like, oh, Jesse will make a meal out of that one for the music, or, you know, something that really, well, and then basically what we have to do is we sort of put the process on hold because we have to get the rights to the songs. And that's a process that takes anywhere from 1 month to 3 months or longer. And you're creating all along this entire time. And you have to keep the characters in the moments a little soft in the clay, because every song I find, I've certainly seen some jukebox musicals in the past that I wasn't as big of a fan of, and the things when they don't work, or when they do work, it's because the moments are specific to those songs and those characters and those lyrics. And so finding that specificity that really sounds like that character, not just what they might be almost going through, is really important. So we have a huge range. I mean, we have some old stuff from Louis Armstrong and Nancy Sinatra and Hootie and the Blowfish, and we have some new stuff by Shawn Mendes and Imagine Dragons and Kelly Clarkson, and we have some Christmas songs in there. And it's really, and what's actually, what's really interesting. So the first jukebox musical I wrote was called One Hit Wonder, that Jesse, I was lucky enough to be paired up with Jesse. And it was interesting because what's really fun about these things is when the songs start, you don't always know what it is, because that's not really what we're trying to do. I mean, sometimes, occasionally we want you to know, hey, this is this Christmas song you're about to hear, because we want you to know from the start. But we also, in other ones, we want you to really hear this character in this song. So Jesse cleverly hides the song inside the song. I mean, it's really clever. And then you get to the chorus and you're like, I know this song.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a delightful experience, because that's a little more how you might feel it in a show with original music. You're a little more likely to have the song creep up on you and get stuck in your head, as opposed to once it starts saying, oh, I know what this is. And I think that's really exciting.
And Jesse, so when we bring that into your process, so so Jeremy hands us the script and says, okay, here's the, here are the songs that I've chosen. This is the journey of the character. Now you take that song and you're going to do, now how do you apply your process to that song that's already chosen?
Oh boy, I think I black out when I do it, actually. Well, I read the scene a lot. I really try to understand what's happening and which character is singing it. Show tunes often, not always, are kind of an extension of a conversation. Sometimes it goes to a very heightened place, but sometimes it really is the conversation continuing. So I try to break the song completely down and really take it, like Jeremy said, I'm not intentionally necessarily trying to hide it, though it is important that you don't hear a song and you're like, oh, now I feel like I'm listening to the radio. It's like taking that first verse and really making it an extension of the scene is super important, whether it's being sung rubato or whether there's a different kind of piano figure or instrumental figure that gets us into it, that takes the emotion and moves forward. And then, there's a bit of like putting my own spin on it, putting it in the world that we're in, and definitely not giving it that kind of like wedding band remake of a song. That's not what we want. And sure, there have been jukebox musicals that intentionally do that for whatever reason they choose, sometimes because it's biographical and they need to do that. I really like hearing things reinvented. I think with postmodern jukebox, I think with American Idol and The Voice, it's so exciting to hear songs from a fresh perspective. You go on YouTube and you hear everyone's interpretations of these songs, and the ones I'm the least interested in are the ones where they press the karaoke track and sing along to it. I really like to hear, as a musician, I love to hear people interpret. And sometimes I'll sit there and try 10 different versions or grooves or tempos before I finally settle on something. This show being in a specific time period and wanting to feel like that classic holiday sound. I listen to a lot of the songs that happen. I know a lot of the songs in that period, and I go, oh, this is the most wonderful time of the year, but it's not, because it's another song and another theatrical moment. But for me, I use that as the crux to then embark on what the original arrangement is, and take it from there.
I think that's great. I remember specifically when I got the first draft from Jeremy, and I hadn't heard what you were going to do with the music yet. And, that romantic song, What I Like About You, is in it, which I grew up on that song. And I was, in high school when it came out. I loved it. And then when we were in the rehearsal room in New York and we were doing the reading of it, and I heard your interpretation of it, I was absolutely blown away. Really did something absolutely completely different. You swung it, and it had that
Sinatra jazz.
Yeah. I mean, I said this to Jeremy one time when we were talking. Well, I forget what we were talking about, but I said, I'm going to go on YouTube and try to find something that's not the original version, so I can hear the song not in the produced way that we are. I like to do that a lot. Even if it's someone just playing their guitar, I like to hear a lot of these songs in a very pure, simple way rather than the produced version, so I can really get inside the song. Because sometimes all you hear is the production, or you hear the original artist, and it's nice to just strip it all away and hear it at its bare minimum as the composition, and then Jeremy found this kind of swung, strange version of the song with a woman singing it, and I go, okay. and then really pushed it in that big band kind of Mad Men Sinatra, which perfectly introduces that character in a great way and gives him an energy that that you want to start with, so that you can see how his character evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does. And I think that, you know, while we talk about, you know, the development of a show, you know, let's talk a little bit about how, you know, so once the writer decides the story, and then the you know, your job comes in and you take the music and you put it in the world, then it becomes about, you know, it's not just, I want people to think that it's not just there, it's ready to go, here's your script, go. You know, that's just the next step of the process. And so what we did is we got together in New York in last February before all COVID hit, and we were able to gather, and we got gathered into a room with some New York actors able to excavate the script, and we were able to ask questions about, does this song work for this character? Does this moment, how does this sound work? And we were able to, as a collective and as a collaboration, to say, you know what, that scene needs more backstory for the character. This song isn't quite working. That arrangement isn't quite working. Talk a little bit about how the process. So once, you know, once the stew is in creation, it's being made, it can still change and grow, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I like to think of it as in the early process, you know, I'm in conversations with everybody, with the producers, as a writer, with the director, with you, Paul, it was such a delight to be paired up with you and to meet you in New York and work with you. I begged to get Jesse back to do this project, and I was delighted that I got to work with him again. And we talk about it, and then I sort of have to do a little bit of alchemy and go away and make some stuff. And then Jesse kind of goes away and makes some stuff. And then we all get together, and there's an energy, and there's so many more voices in it, because a problem that I was trying to solve with a script, with something in the script, maybe Jesse's like, oh, I can fix that with music. You don't need to explain that. Paul might be like, I can stage that. You know what? I'm going to make that a dance moment. I can make that work. I don't need that dialogue. I don't need that scene, because I can do that this way. Actors come in and they read a line in a certain way, and you're like, oh, that one reading of that line saves all that character development. I get it. He's angry. He's upset. She's melancholy. She's hurt. She's got this wave of backstory, and it's interesting. You never know whether you've written too much or too little, and you don't know until, because you never know who's going to see what in it, and that's the beauty of bringing all this. And then when we get to production, the set designer puts something on stage, and suddenly it's like, why did I spend a half a page explaining we were at the Empire State Building? I can see the Empire State Building. Well, and sometimes you create a production where you don't exactly know where you are. I mean, and so what's delightful from my point of view is you get to bring in so many more people into the process, and you get to have that collaboration, and that's kind of the magic of musical theater.
Yeah. The collaboration, you know, I want to ask you both about this particular set, because we were supposed to gather at Timberlake in May to do the next phase of development, and we're not able to do that due to you know, the world that we live in today. But what we have been able to do is we've been able to create a virtual rehearsal room, if you will, and be able to work with our actors, and we've assembled our residents who have been wonderfully gracious to work with us on this process. So now we're in a new world of trying to develop a new musical without being able to gather and being able to do the traditional things that we normally know how to do. How has this process been for both of you? Jesse, why don't you go ahead and take it first?
Well, I learned, which I didn't know until we all spoke a couple of weeks ago, that that everything has to be pre-recorded, that no one can sing live, and that's obviously another step that doesn't exist in a normal developmental process. Someone's sitting at the piano, you fix some notes, they say, make it faster, make it slower. And now it's kind of in this combination of making a musical and also making an album, where you're kind of like making recorded demos of everything. When you're arranging a musical, a jukebox musical, myself as the arranger is kind of like the surrogate composer, because I still have to make all the moments work. And I like to send demos out. I'm a terrible singer, but you've all heard my demos. And it's because I want to know that we're on the same page. I want to know that you guys are digging it. I love thoughts. You know, at a certain point, you just can't sit alone anymore. You need to get some feedback. And so this is kind of an extension of that. Now we have are actors singing these demos and not me, thankfully. And so we get to hear things more realized than even we got to hear in February. And it's a great opportunity to put it all together. And it's been nice to like meet with all these actors virtually. And now they're currently at this very moment all recording their tracks. And we go back and forth. I give them notes. I've been making voice memos to give them notes on things. And we're going to put it all together this week. So it's a brand new experience. I'm actually very eager to see how technology can make this a more accessible process for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, what's been great is honestly to meet the cast that you put together, Paul. They're amazing.
Yeah,
I'm so in love with this cast, and I still haven't seen them in person. As far as I'm concerned, they're two-dimensional, and and they're all from around the country, and they're gathering in their living rooms and in their bedrooms and hiding up we're like, where are you? Oh, I'm outside in the backyard. And someone was in their car the other day for 3 hours, just rehearsing from their car. And but it's wild. And it's definitely different. It's hard to feel the pacing of a scene necessarily over this kind of technology, but definitely you get a sense for them building their characters and getting a sense for who they are as people and what they're bringing to each role. So it's been delightful to really get a chance to meet this incredible cast that I can't wait to meet in person.
And thank you for letting us forge ahead with this too. I mean, I think that's I mean, for myself, I can at least say that the ability to be creative and continue to see a project through with all the things that are going on right now. I applaud anyone who figures out a way to continue to develop in any way with the limitations that exist, and keep making things and getting together and collaborating, because there's a lot of people whose projects stopped, right? And nothing's going on. So thank you for the opportunity to continue to develop this.
Amen.
Well, thank you. And thank you both. I just want to tell you both, it has been an absolute joy working with both of you on this process. I am so excited for this show. Dan and I have, we have been dreaming to bring this show to Timberlake Playhouse. And let me tell you something, we are not going to stop until it's realized. And it is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to have you guys, you both as my collaborators, and then to be able to have Timberlake work with Michael and LME and BMG and TRW. And again, it takes a small army,
Absolutely.
Well, it was very interesting hearing this entire process and getting to know you guys a little bit. Looking forward to meeting in person. And hopefully that will be in August. And if not August, we'll keep moving it to when the virus stops flying around through the
in the show. They keep flipping. We're gonna find it though.
yeah. But no, it's been great. We've been working with the designers, the lighting designers, and the working with the video designers. So once we can find a place to put this, we'll be good and ready to go.
Yeah, and to tell you, speaking of that design process, because I know that Jesse and Jeremy haven't really been on that side of things, and I got to start to move them into that. I've been working with our set designer Josh Iocavelli, our lighting designer Ben Danielowski, our costume designer Grace Wiley, and they are all eager to start. Josh is already starting to put sketches up, and we're going to try to share them with the group when we do the presentation next week. And I'm really excited for the team to kind of meet everybody, and I'm even more excited to get everybody together so we can actually do what we love to do best.
Yes.
Well, Jeremy and Jesse, thank you so much for taking some time tonight to join us, to share this with us. We will hopefully, when we get a little closer to opening, we can get the entire team. We're planning on doing a TLP live with our designers somewhere down the road, and then maybe right before we open with our actors, and maybe we'll do kind of a reunion show with everybody opening night, or somewhere around that time. But this is and I see there's been some comments about that. It's really nice to see this process, that they were hoping that they could see a little bit about the process of putting this together. So
absolutely,
thank you all so much.
I want to And a happy Memorial Day to both of you and your families. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you so much for your time and talent. We are appreciative. I love you both. You guys are becoming brothers really quickly.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Well, that was a lot of fun. Holy cow.
It's a lot, right? It's a lot going into it. And I think that, one of the things that we were hoping to do with the workshop is to be able to show a little bit of behind the scenes on how a brand new musical comes together. So if anybody has any questions who's listening and want to write in, please feel free. We want to let you guys know, we're not afraid to let you know how the sausage gets made on this end of it. And I think that it's truly, what people, it's so easy to watch a hit Broadway show and you walk out of there going, oh my God, my life was changed. It's such an amazing thing. But what the kind of work that it took to go into that and to be able to make that is truly where it is fundamentally fascinating, because so many decisions and so many ways to go. It's really like it takes everybody working together to try to realize the vision.
Well, and the amazing thing is, whether it's a show like Hamilton or a show like What a Wonderful World, this process is the same.
That's right.
It's the same process from germination to realization on the stage. And, I'm just really, really glad that we can be a part of this process. We get to be the TLP gets to be the end of this. And Paul, you've had a lot more involvement in it as it grows than most producing companies would. So that's been good too, to have that as a something for us to look at and be able to share. And speaking of sharing, our whole plan is that we would have had this workshop here on site. Jesse and Jeremy would have been here along with our cast and along with our production crew. We would have done this on site, and then at the end of the workshop, we were going to bring in some of our patrons to watch and to have a little talk-back feedback. Unfortunately, with what's going on now in the world, and we haven't developed the technology yet, or we don't have the technology yet to be able to stream that or to even really do that at the end. So unfortunately, that's something that we're just not going to be able to do like we had hoped.
Yeah, you're right, Dan. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we wanted to be able to bring Jeremy and Jesse on today, to be able to talk a little bit about it. I see that we have a question from Lori Empin asking about were the characters created based on actors we had in mind, or were they just creations that Jeremy came up with? And well, other than Santa and Mrs. Claus, these were Jeremy's inventions. These were characters that Jeremy had in his mind. He had introduced the idea and the essence of the characters to me. And then what I did was when I went out into the world to cast our resident company, I had that in my head, and I was able to cast people that I felt would be a good fit for the characters that Jeremy had created. But those are, when everybody does see the show, they're wonderful characters. They're so much fun, from elves to just the people in the world of New York City in 1958, and it's a lot of fun, and I think that people are going to really resonate with it.
Well, very good. I wanted to just mention one other comment here, because I think this is important for us. Definitely, we have to remember what this weekend and tomorrow is really all about. It is very easy to forget, especially when we're sitting at home and feeling sorry for ourselves. We've had veterans sitting in a lot of other places and never feeling sorry for themselves, and we really appreciate that and thank them for their service and their sacrifice. Absolutely. We are especially on this weekend. They've done so much for us in so many decades over the years, and they've watched over our country. They protected it, and we would not be the country we are without them. So to all of our veterans out there, thank you, thank you, thank you. Absolutely. Well, we'd like to close the show tonight a little differently than we normally do. Paul, why don't you introduce this last video we're going to show?
Absolutely. Thank you. So in the spirit of our theme of What a Wonderful World, we thought it would be an opportunity to share with you one of the songs from the show. The song that you're about to see now is the character of Mrs. Claus, and she is singing this song to Lucy, who is our protagonist, who will eventually, hopefully, go on to become the next Mrs. Claus. But in this particular moment in the show, she is unsure of herself, so she needs a little bit of push from Mrs. Claus. Mrs. Claus was portrayed by Felicia Finley. The name of the song is called Fight Song, and it is arranged and orchestrated by Jesse Vargas, and it is played by our musical director, Mr. Michael McBride. I'm so proud of this song. This song, to me, carries so much more than just the show of What a Wonderful World, but it actually speaks to our industry, our theater, how we must fight. We must fight for what we believe in. This is what we do. This is what everybody wants us to continue to be able to do. We need your support. We need your support in every single way you can give. If you can make a donation, please feel free. If you can just come, if you want to volunteer, we would love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions, we want to hear from you. So together we fight, together we rise, and together we're stronger.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Happy Memorial Day.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Just like a single word can make a heart open. You might have only one match, but it can make an explosion. And all those things you couldn't say, wrecking balls inside your brain, you will scream them loud tonight, and he will hear your voice this time. This is your fight song. Take back your life song. Prove you're alright song, yeah. Your power's turned on. Starting right now, you'll be strong. Just play this fight song. Say, I don't care if nobody else believes, 'cause I still got a little fight left in me. This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove you're alright song, yeah. Your power's turned on. Starting right now, you'll be strong. Just play this fight song. Say, I don't care if nobody else believes.